Every walk in the Budawangs begins by crossing the Yabra River and slogging up the Kaliana Ridge. The tourist track along the base of the castle up to Castle Saddle has been improved by National Park, so it's a superhighway. Although we started at lunchtime, it was only later afternoon when we were climbing the Nibelung Pass into Monolith Valley. We stopped to admire the magnificent view into Monolith Valley before descending, passing the natural arch and out through the green room to the far side. Two of us did a side trip to climb the castle. But everybody was happily ensconced in Sunset Cave on the far side of the valley in time for a lovely evening. We set up a tarp to gather water from a drip in the cave roof. Next morning it was raining, the only rain we had on our trip. We set off for an absolutely brutal 4-hour bush bash along the side of Donjon Mountain to the climb. The regrowth after the bushfires is almost impenetrable. It's a tangle of fallen timber and Jenga stacks, intensely basket weave style branches woven together from all the regrown saplings. It was really brutal. But the rain stopped by the time we reached the climb. We set up a hand line on the first pitch. The second pitch required a bit of real climbing. And we set up a hand line for the older members of the party. And finally, we reached the big chimney, the serious climb below the summit. By this point, we were beyond our turnaround time for the day. So the first two people up, the best climbers, made a rush for the summit cairn and signed the logbook, saving Subois' honour. They were the first people to reach the summit since 2024, so it's 2 years since anybody else was up there, or at least since anybody bothered to sign the logbook. The rest of us had lunch and started the descent so as to get a head start. The walk back was much easier because we'd basically made a track. We'd cleared the really major tangles of fallen timber, and we also didn't need to navigate because we could follow the very clear path that we'd made by unweaving the sapling tangles and so forth. We were back at Sunset Cave in good time to watch the sun go down behind Mount Tarn and to have a beautiful evening round the campfire. Next morning dawned windy but bright. We set off along the other side of Donjon Mountain to descend to Angel Creek and Crooked Falls. It's much drier on this side of the mountain, and the bush was easier going. We found a straightforward pass through a side creek and a little tunnel to take us through the last line of cliffs. So by morning tea, we were in the bottom of Angel Creek. The descent was steep, but the creek soon turns into closed canopy rainforest, and so we were able to make good progress along the creek itself through this beautiful green landscape. By lunchtime, we were at the Crooked Falls lookout, admiring Angel Creek cascading down the cliffs and looking back up to Donjon Mountain. The view from here is one of the best in the Budawangs, the central massif and all down into Holland's Gorge. From here we decided to ascend to the other side to a camp cave on the base of Mount Tarn. This was another afternoon of truly brutal bush bashing through Jenga piles of fallen timber from the big bushfires and heavy scrub. It was about 4:30 by the time we settled into our camp cave and a lovely evening around the fire. Next morning the sunrise was spectacular. They should call this Sunrise Cave. The whole roof was lit up red by the rising sun as we woke. We had breakfast admiring the spectacular views before setting off along the Mount Tarn cliffline to find the pass indicated on the old bushwalker's sketch map. This proved to be straightforward, and before too long we were on the flat, swampy summit of Mount Tarn. We did a bit of bush bashing across the summit to reach the well-maintained national park track that runs east-west across the Budawangs, and from here we were just speeding along. I had lovely views of Donjon Mountain from back in the saddle below Mount Tarn, nice views of the back of the Massif. We were at Sunset Cave for lunch, enjoyed some pinnacle scrambling. For some people, one pinnacle was not enough. And one final set of beautiful views back across Holland's Gorge and to the backside of Donjon Mountain. Then we descended through the green room into the wonders of Monolith Valley. All too soon we were out the other side, taking one last look at that spectacular landscape before 3 hours of rapid walking down the tourist track back to our cars, reaching the cars just before sunset. Another glorious few days in the lovely Budawangs.